Hello and welcome back to another Pricey HD video. Today we've got another episode of the Game of the Week series. Sorry if this one's a bit late today. It is mainly because the BBC Sport preview wasn't coming up. But basically, it is Wolves vs Chelsea. Now, this is the first ever Wolverhampton Wanderers related video I have ever had on this channel, apart from, of course, when we have played them in any career mode of any type that we've ever done on the channel. That is mainly including Birmingham career mode only, because Wolves tend to not get promoted in career mode. Therefore, my Everton career mode wouldn't have included them. Anyway, let's get straight on to the episode. It is going to be a very interesting one. Wolves on possibly what you would debatably say was one of the best runs that any championship club has had this year. Beating two Premier League sides is normally enough to get you to Wembley in the FA Cup. Not in the case of Wolves. They've got to get two more wins yet before they reach anywhere near the semi-finals. And quite frankly, it is a real shame for them in a sense. But what an event this is. What an occasion. At the Molineux, Chelsea are visiting, and I reckon it will be rip-tore there. I actually have a friend who's a Wolves fan, and he goes to a lot of the games, and apparently the atmosphere at the Molineux can be very, very good. In fact, I hate to say it, I have been to the Molineux before, and it is a decent atmosphere, to be fair to them, but ultimately, this is going to be a very, very, very interesting affair, because you've got Wolves, who in the league have lost 4 games on the trot. They are in a position of jeopardy right now in the league, and to be quite frankly honest, I wouldn't really say they're in danger of relegation, but if I just quickly get up the championship table, which, one moment, you might hear the keyboard there, sorry about that, but either way, if I get up the championship table, showing that right now, they are in a situation that might not end well for them this year. Granted, we are only 5 points above them, Birmingham City, of course, after our fucking dreadful spell with Gianfranco Zola. More on him tomorrow. But basically, Wolves right now are 18th in the Championship. They do have a game in hand on the team above, Nottingham Forest, but ultimately, they are in a bit of a bad position, and there is no getting away from that fact. They are there or abouts in the relegation scrap. I would say it would take a bit of bad luck, really, for them to get relegated this year. But there is 46 games in a season, and there is still 15 of them games left. 15 times 3 is, of course, 45. 45 points still up for grabs, which is quite a lot, obviously. Of course, no one's going to get all 45, but you look at that, 15 games. You look at Birmingham, we've won 1 in 13 as I'm recording this. There's 15 games left. What happened to our season? And, I mean, probably not going to happen to Wolves, but 4 games lost in a row. If they get dragged into this FA Cup run, if they beat Chelsea here, if they get too concentrative on, is that a word, concentrative? If they get too indulged in this FA Cup run, it really, really could have a negative impact on their league campaign. I know all too well as a Birmingham City fan that winning cups doesn't always do your best for your league campaign. Cough, cough. 2010-11 Carling Cup winners and relegated team. So, ultimately, what would Wolves fans prefer? Now, would you prefer, as a fan of any club in fact, I would probably say you'd have to be a fan of a club who doesn't win trophies to be put in this situation. If you're a fan of like Man United or something, of course you wouldn't want to win the FA Cup and go down. You'd prefer to just stay 6th. But ultimately, what would you prefer? As a fan of a club like Wolves, I don't know, say you were a Swansea, I don't really know, a Sheffield Wednesday. Say you were one of them type of clubs. Would you prefer to win the cup, go down, but be guaranteed that you'd come straight back up to the Championship? Or would you prefer to not win the cup and stay in the Championship that season? That's a difficult one, because if you were guaranteed to only spend 1 year in the division below, League One, of course, the division below is League One, of course, then surely you would choose that, because if you know you're going to come straight back up, then you're a fresh side in the Championship. Granted, coming back up to the Championship, it can be a tough one. You look at Wigan, for example. They've come up from the Championship after going down. They've come up from the League One, after going down from the Championship in the 2 seasons ago. So, it isn't easy. Not at all. But would you prefer to do that? It's a difficult one, to be honest. It's a really difficult one to decide. Wolves, this game could go either way. They, of course, beat 2 Premier League teams already. That Liverpool game is just genuinely immense. But Chelsea, I think they're a different class to Liverpool on the fact that the form that they're on is just completely different, turn on its head. And to be honest, I cannot see Chelsea slipping up. I mean, it could happen. It's the FA Cup. What am I to say anything? But I genuinely cannot see Chelsea slipping up in this one. I think they will get the win. But bring it back to basics now. You think about it. Chelsea want the league. And granted, they could want the FA Cup as well, but they want the league now. It's not sorted for them. It's not done just yet, the league. It's definitely going their way, but it's not quite done just yet. So they still need a bit of work to do. They still need to finish it off. They still need to get that league title. It is amazing, really, this season, that Chelsea have suddenly turned themselves back around again with Conte in 3-5-2 and done a fantastic job he has so far. And I really hope it continues for them. Chances are next season they won't do as well and Abramovich will sack Conte and everything will go bad again. But it seems to happen with Chelsea. It just seems to be the endless cycle of, oh yeah, they are the solid team of the Premier League like they were the other year with Jose Mourinho. And then next season they don't have quite as well as a good start. And granted, they might not finish 10th again, but, you know, they don't have quite as well as a good start as previous seasons, and then suddenly it all goes bad, and then they get a new manager again, and it's all good, and then they win the Champions League like Roberto Di Matteo did. But really, Chelsea is an interesting side, really, looking at how that works. But let's go for a few statistics now, just before we end, because I haven't actually said any statistics. This has really been just a chat video, which is a different style game of the week. I haven't really chatted in a game of the week like this for a while, but ultimately, Wolves are in... What are my predictions just before we get into the stats? I think Chelsea will win. Here, I don't think Wolves will carry on. I mean, the more Premier League teams you play against, I think the less chance of you carrying on winning constantly. Obviously, it happened against Liverpool, and no one is expecting it. And granted, this may not even be the best FA Cup run. You look at Lincoln, that's almost definitely, in a sense, the best FA Cup run. But obviously, they're not in FIFA, so I can't do the game of the week on them. So, I mean, you look at Wolves and you think every game that they win, it gets more and more, well, less and less likely that they will win the next, because quite often in the FA Cup, it's different. You can either accumulate momentum in the FA Cup and you can feel that you're not the underdog, but as you win more, the almost slight glimmer of expectation does sort of come into it. It's like, oh, if we beat Liverpool, then why can't we beat Chelsea sort of thing, and then the players do feel more pressure, because against Liverpool, there was no pressure on Wolves at all to win. In this game, I would say there's a slight bit more pressure. I think that's just logic. If you've got to this point, then you want to go further, then you are going to feel more pressure than before, because in round 4, they had nothing to lose. In round 5, there's an opportunity of going to Wembley, only 2 games away at stake. So it is really quite pressurised now. Whether they'll be able to take that, I don't know. Whether Lincoln will be able to take that as well elsewhere, I really don't expect so. But ultimately, that is what I think is going to happen. I think the pressure will pop Wolves. You could argue that there's no pressure on them at all. Yeah, granted, there probably isn't. But it is natural in human nature. If you're getting closer to a prize, you're going to feel more pressure to get that prize. Because ultimately, if you're getting that close to it, then you're going to want to get it even more and more. This is actually the 4th FA Cup tie between Wolves and Chelsea. The last in 1994, Blues won 1-0 at Stamford Bridge. The other 2 fixtures have seen Wolves play at home, losing in 1911, but winning in 1928. Wow! Unbelievable statistics there from 1911 and 1928. What relevance does that have to modern day? I'm not quite sure. Well done, BBC. Chelsea have won 9 of their last 10 games in all competitions versus Wolves, losing 1, keeping 11 clean sheets. 7 clean sheets. 11 clean sheets in fucking 10 games. Brilliant. In their most recent meeting, Chelsea won 6-0 in the League Cup in 2012. I think we all remember 2012, don't we, Wolves fans? Sorry, mate. Either way, Wolves could reach the FA Cup round, the round of 6, well, 6th round, for the first time since 2002-03, when they were beaten 2-0 at Southampton. Anyway, I do hope watching. If you did enjoy, make sure you smash that like button down below. I'm sorry that there wasn't much more statistics in this video, but I hope you enjoyed this different style. It was good to just chat and get things off my chest about what I think of Wolverhampton Wanderers, because that's not often the topic of conversation.